Alright, so welcome to Chapter 3, where we set up our deep learning development machine. So now that you've gone through the intro, you're now ready to get started setting up your machine. So let's get to it. So now the first step in setting up our deep learning virtual machine is you need to download VirtualBox. VirtualBox is a software that allows us to actually start an entirely new operating system, whether it be Linux, Windows, or Mac OS, although it's not fully supported for Mac OS. But you can actually run an entire new operating system within VirtualBox. It's super cool. It's called virtualization, and it is super fast on new CPUs. They don't experience any slowdown really, and it is entirely useful for us to set up our deep learning machine because deep learning software on Windows is not well supported. However, on Linux or Ubuntu, it is a very good environment for running our software. So what you do now is you download either the Windows or OS X versions according to what OS you're using. So I'm assuming it's going to be Windows, so I've already downloaded it here. So now what you do as well is you download from the link in the resources file, download your deep learning CV Ubuntu.ova file. This is your virtual machine that we're going to set up. So now that you have those two files here, we are ready to get started. So now we have to firstly install VirtualBox. Now, I know this file is quite huge, it's 9 gigs, so you probably would have wanted to leave this overnight if you have a relatively slow broadband connection. However, if you have a fast connection, it should take about an hour. Either way, let's install VirtualBox. So you go to Run, Standard Procedure. I'm not going to do the Mac install video because I don't have access to a Mac, but as soon as I do, I'll upload a video for you Mac users. However, it's a standard installation procedure and all the settings are the same generally for Mac and Windows. So this should relate to you as well. So you leave all the defaults here as well, just press next, next again. You can, optionally you can do this if you want, it's fine. This is fine, press yes, install, and there we go. Okay, so we've finished the installation process, so now you can start your VirtualBox software and I'll show you how to get everything set up. Alright, so here we are on our VirtualBox Manager software. So please ignore these two virtual machines I have up right now. Yours is going to be blank right now, since I assume it's the first time you're going to be using this. So go to File and Import Appliance, and now go to the directory where you downloaded your VirtualBox.ova file. Alright. So go to Open and press Next. Now, I have it set to, for my virtual machine, to use 4 CPUs and use 8 gigs of RAM. That is basically, I have a quad-core CPU, so I have 8 logical cores, and I have 16 gigs of RAM in my system. So you're going to want to put it to at least half of what your host system can support. So if you have a dual core, you can use 2 here, and if you have 8 gigs of RAM, you can use 4 gigs here. So we can make those adjustments and leave everything else the same. This is fine. And then go to Import. And now this time is basically a lie. It's going to take maybe about 10-20 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video here. And when it's done, we can start our virtual machine and I'll show you how to use it. It's quite easy. And we'll download and set up our code, and that should be it. Okay, so that's it. We have just installed our virtual machine. So now this is the new one here. Because I already have it working here, it came up as _1. Yours is going to be this one. So either way, it's the same machine. So let's just start this one, the fresh one I just installed. It takes about maybe 30 seconds to boot up, at least on my system. This is all normal, by the way. It's a booting screen for Ubuntu. There we go. So we've loaded our OS. So this is pretty cool. So now you're actually running Ubuntu within Windows. And it's because it's using your virtualization features on your CPU, it's going to run pretty quick. You're not going to notice much of a slowdown. So what I want to do is 2 things I want to show you. First of all, your password for your virtual machine, whenever you do sudo or any sort of like system settings where you change users and stuff. The password for this user is 11223344. It's going to be in the attached resources of your file, and I'm going to display it on screen as well, so you don't forget it. So let's just see something here. So what I want to show you is that we have this is our machine, this is our file structure here. So this is our home directory right now. We have a bunch of things installed here right now. Basically these things are a lot of your deep learning libraries, and I have some instructions as well. You don't need to use these right now, but what I want to show you is to basically set up your code and train models. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, so what I'm going to need you to do is open Firefox. That's a web browser on Ubuntu by default. And what to do is when Firefox boots up, I want you to go to your Udemy account on udemy.com, and with the attached resources to this lesson, which is also the deep learning code library. Just wait for it to boot up here. I think my system has a lot of stuff running right now, but either way, let's just go to udemy.com. And there's Black Friday sale going on right now. How nice. So what to do is basically log into your account, however you've done it before, whichever method you use, and download the resources for the course. That's the code and train model zip file. And download it, and it's going to save in your downloads folder right here. This is the same folder, and this is a file I want you to extract. So double click on this file. It's going to take a bit for 10 seconds or so to open. It's a big file, so that's reasonable. And this file here, I want you to extract it to your home directory here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just reduce this clutter in the background. And this takes about a minute, actually much less than a minute to extract. And when it's done, you will see all our code that we need for this course is in a convenient location. So let me just quit this. I'll close. Okay. And it's doing something, but that's fine. What I want to do is go to home, and now you see this directory here, Deep Learning CV, and this is also a shortcut to that same directory. And let's go back to it here. This is the contents of this directory. So let's sort it on list here. This is all the code and train models you're going to need for this course, and it's conveniently extracted now within your virtual machine. So now let's go back to our our terminal. So let's clear this. So what if we wanted to test our code? So what you do, you press source, type source, activate CV. That's our deep learning environment for computer vision, and it's instantly done. And now you type IPython notebook, and some magic happens. What this does, it starts a local server that hosts your IPython notebook browser. So now, this is where we run all our Python code, and I'm just going to do a brief tutorial on it here. So now, just go to Deep Learning CV. Let's just go to Chapter 4, Getting Started, and let's run our live sketching, because this loads much quicker and we don't need to download any files for this. So to run this block of code, IPython notebooks are basically just blocks of code we can run, and all the variables, everything is stored inside of it. So you press Shift Enter or Control Enter. Shift Enter runs it here. This takes about maybe 5 seconds to import or less. And we print the version of OpenCV that we're using. It's 3.4. If you press Alt Enter, you get a new line below. So that's sometimes convenient, sometimes not. Shift Enter just runs it without producing this new cell here. And to delete it, just press Cut. So now let's run our sketch. Now before we do this, we're going to have to go to Devices, here, Webcams, and tick off our integrated webcam. And now let's press Shift Enter to run this block of code. There we go. So this is our browser, our live sketch. This is me chatting here. This is my microphone, the doors in the back. So this is pretty cool, isn't it? So let's close this. And that is it. So we have all our code here. Everything is pre-installed. All our Keras, TensorFlow, a bunch of supporting libraries. dlib is installed. A lot of things are installed actually. It probably takes about an hour or even 3 hours sometimes to install everything. So that's it. You have your full virtual machine running here.